Thank you for tuning in to the North Main Minute. I'm Joshua Dobie. A very foundational financial planning question with which we're dealing here all the time at North Main Financial Group comes under the large idea of retirement planning, and then more specifically, as I'm sure you can understand, do I have enough to retire? Now I'm going to start out with some very foundational ideas here that may be a little bit counterintuitive. And the first one is that question is different for everybody. Meaning it's not just true that if you acquire a certain amount of assets that you are, quote, ready to retire. That's one part of the equation, definitely an important part of the equation, but it is just one, which in our world here at North Main Financial Group is a multivariable algorithm. So very, very important to take these other ideas in mind as well. Let me offer up the first one. What are your income sources in retirement? You may have a pension, not as many of those anymore, but you may have a pension, which may provide some of your income in retirement. You may have Social Security. You may also be considering working at a part-time job. Retirement now looks very different than it did 30 or 40 years ago. And many folks continue to do some kind of work in, quote, retirement because they're physically able and perhaps even desire that would be the case. So that's another leg in addition to your portfolio and what your portfolio can produce for you. So you want to get an idea about your income sources and what they are relative to number two, and that is your overhead, both your fixed overhead and your discretionary overhead. As the numbers suggest, your fixed overhead, things like mortgages, car loans, electric bills, those kinds of things, car insurances that are definitely a part of your monthly budget every month. And then discretionary kinds of things are more, what would you like to do? How many times are you going out for dinner? Are you going to travel with some regularity, and making sure that you have an allocation for that as well. And that brings me to the third idea, and it's the relationship between those two that really matters. Yes, the asset base is important, but much more important for us as we're doing retirement planning and answering that question, do I have enough to retire, is the differential between your ability to produce income and then specifically what your fixed overhead is. You can have an 8-digit portfolio, but if you're spending $1 million a year, I promise you, not only are you going to feel poor, but if you have any kind of normalized life expectancy, you're going to run out of money. And so that's very, very important to keep that relationship in mind, meaning that you may not need as much asset-wise if you have paid off your mortgage, have no car loans, no student loan debt or credit card debt, and you're managing your expenses well. You may not need the same kind of portfolio that you would anticipate, not only to cover your fixed overhead, but also to have a very healthy amount of discretionary income as well. It's a little bit counterintuitive. We often see that folks are surprised to learn that kind of thing, but very foundational when it comes to planning. If you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group, perhaps take a look at that relationship. What is the relationship between what you anticipate as your retirement income or your ability to produce income, what your overhead is, and to be able to answer that all-important question, do I have enough to retire? We'd love to hear from you. NorthMainFinancial.com.